Good afternoon and welcome to SUTV Live for today's kickoff. That's going to be in about an hour. Sheffield United travelling to Ashton Gate to take on Bristol City. All of the build-up to today's match is free to view to all Sheffield United fans via this platform, and lots on the way between now and 5:30 p.m. We'll take a look back at Good Friday's game against Reading, including the post-match reaction of Paul Heckingbottom. And in an SUTV live exclusive, Blades striker David McGoldrick will speak to our very own Matt Young ahead of today's tea time kickoff. All of the broadcasting regulations relating to today's game can be found by visiting the website. Go to sufc.co.uk where you'll find all the information that you need. So, a very good afternoon to you from our studio here at Bramall Lane. Looking forward, hopefully, to a victory and a performance to improve our chances of getting into those playoffs at the end of the season. Alongside me today, as ever, Kevin Gage, who's going to be commentating as well later on. And I mean, the way it is, it's still in our own hands. 4 wins, and it's going to be good enough.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's all you can hope for, isn't it, at this stage of the season? You don't want to be relying on other people. So, yeah, the results have gone okay for us today. So it's up to us this afternoon. And
alongside Kevin, it's good afternoon, or almost good evening, isn't it? But good afternoon to Derek Geary. Thanks a lot for joining us. And you can feel the tension, can't you?
Yeah, it's obviously it's that time of year where everybody's getting a bit nervous, and but fortunately we've got a lot of experience in there. We've got some good players, and like you said, there's 4 games to go. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns, a lot of ups and downs, but if you win the 4 games, you're guaranteed. But hopefully we've got that experience to carry us through.
And the fact that games are coming so quickly over the Easter period, you know, obviously it was a massive setback and a great disappointment losing on Good Friday, but getting it back into competitive action so quickly, Kevin, it's got to be good news.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I'd rather have a couple more days break, to be honest.
Would you really?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to go again, you know, especially after a result like that. And there's travelling time as well to get down to Bristol. So it's not like it's, you know, just down the road or anything like that. Now, it's the same for Bristol City, of course it is, but they had a good result on Friday, so they'll be buoyed up by that. So all in all, it's going to be a really difficult game for us this afternoon.
Yeah, they had that win at Stoke City, which, you know, it was almost, when you saw that, you almost looked at it and thought, where's that come from?
Yeah, it was a good result actually. They did really well. Obviously, they've had 4 points from the last 6, so they're on a bit of a run. But hopefully today, I think it's a real big game for us today, and I think a lot of expectations on us, which you expect from a football club of this size at this time of the year, and I expect us to go tonight and do a job.
Recent form for Sheffield United, it's been pretty good until Good Friday. I mean, it's been you get these setbacks, and it's all about how well you cope with it and how well you bounce back.
Yeah, the recent form's been excellent, hasn't it? We all talked about a clean sheet record, and it's our home form that's been exceptional. That's why the Good Friday result and the reverse against Reading was a real blow to us, really, because no one saw it coming. We're looking at the home fixtures and we're thinking, I was certainly thinking, I'm guilty of it as well, thinking, well, we're going to turn Reading over. We're looking at the Bournemouth one as a difficult fixture. We played really, really well there. So to play so poorly against Reading, and then especially not to come away with anything after equalising in the 90th minute, real body blow. So as I said earlier, they will react to that, and I'm sure they will put a performance on, but it's going to be hard work today.
You've both got masses of experience of players and have been in pressure situations before. Getting a result like that, Derek, I mean, how much of a body blow to the team is it? That's the phrase that Kevin used. And is it possible that maybe there was just that little bit of an expectation that they were going to get the 3 points and possibly looked past what was really needed?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think there was a lot of expectations. There was a big crowd here on Friday, and I think maybe you feel like it's probably a game that's winnable, and you see that. But I think it happens this time of year, John. I think when they go in the dressing room at the end and they regroup, which I know Eki will, which managers that we've worked on, says, listen, it's a clean slate now. There's 4 games to go, and obviously if you hear Eki's interviews, he's saying it's a sprint now. It's right in the last stretch, and it's a sprint right to the line. So I think you put that to bed. Like Gage said, it's not ideal 2 games later there's going to be a game, but it is what it is, and you're going to a place where I'm more than confident that they can win the game.
It's the time of year when managers really earn their money, isn't it? You know, I mean, he's got to psychologically pick them up and get them to go again, Kevin.
I mean, professional footballers, it's in the job description. You're professional. It's what you're paid to do, and they're paid a lot of money to do the job very, very well. And these are good players, aren't they? I've absolutely no doubt that they don't really need picking up as such. You know, there's a bit of personal pride as well comes into play because they know they didn't perform in front of a nearly full house, you know, at Bramall Lane on Friday. So they'll want to pride in their performance and they'll want to put on a show. Also on Sky, of course, you know, so the whole world's watching, including the SUTV viewers, of course. But you want to do your best and you want to put on a show and of course you want to get some kind of result.
He's going to be making changes to the team. We've got the Sheffield United team. Let's, if we can just have a look. And they have sprung changes. And first of all, into the team, Kevin, Fleck, Berger, Robinson, Basham and Jai in that starting lineup.
Well, I must be honest, I'm so happy with that team. It's a team I've actually predicted and hoped for on Twitter last night. So I'm glad my judgment's been upheld. I can't fault the team. It's a big call, actually. The one that sticks out for everybody, well, there's two actually. There's Basham coming back, but I think that's a no-brainer, to be honest, because he's so crucial to the way we play. But obviously, with McBurney not being fit, there's a few options up front. But we've gone with Illiman and Jai, and I'm happy with that because I think him and Gibbs White could cause the two Bristol City centre halves, you know, all sorts of problems.
Well, they're going to have to, aren't they? I mean, they're not recognised out-and-out strikers. There's no out-and-out striker in that squad today.
Yeah. Well, it forces us to do what we're good at, and that's keeping the ball on the floor. There's no point lumping it into the box or from wide areas. We have to play our foot in and around the box. And in Njai and Gibbs White, you have probably two of the most creative players, attacking footballers in the whole division. We know all about Gibbs White. We've seen him, what he can do this season. He's been magnificent for us. But Njai's been largely forgotten about, and he came into the team. I mean, Derek knows all about his ability, but he came into the team, and he was like a breath of fresh air. He was magnificent when he played. So the link-up play with Gibbs White today is absolutely crucial.
Derek, tell us a bit more about Njai then, and indeed about some of the youngsters who are being given the opportunity to impress.
Yeah, obviously Illiman came into the academy system about 3 years ago. He was very raw at the time, John. He was full of talent, like Gage said, real potential, and I think the culture of the club helped him. His work rate got better, he was more fair, but his talent was always undoubted. It was just a matter of him putting that together to be the professional that he is, to obviously to go on to be a professional footballer. But he's a real talent, and he has probably the world at his feet. I believe that he could go on probably to play at the highest level. I think he's still young. I think, like you said today, like Gage alluded to, we've got experience in the team today, and you've got that youthfulness up top with an abundance of talent. I think hopefully it's not ideally what Ollie and Billy being missing, but I think with that youth up top and that talent up top, if they click tonight, hopefully we can go on and get the victory that obviously we need.
Do you know what the latest is on the injuries that are keeping people like McBurney and Billy Sharp out of it? How close are they?
I'm not. Derek will know more about it. He's involved with the squad and the team, you know. But injuries are what they are at this stage of the season. All clubs get injured players just from the amount of games you're playing as well. I think McBurney took a whack on his foot, didn't he, the other day? But you know, the temptation might have been just, if McBurney had been fit, the temptation might have been we'll just keep going with him. And McBurney does a decent job for the side. He gets a little bit of stick, but he's important to the way we play, and he's very good at his set pieces, especially defensively. He's very excellent defensively. But Njai just gives us something a little bit different, and maybe this change might have been made, you know, even if McBurney had been fit, because it certainly does shake it up. And Illiman and Njai has been sat on the bench watching Gibbs White get all the accolades for months now, you know, not really getting an opportunity. So he's got a real chance to shine, and you know, he might be the difference between us like limping into the playoffs, which is probably the way with our injuries we're going to do it, or just flying into the playoffs on the back of a couple of good victories and going into the playoffs with a bit of form and a bit of confidence.
You've played in playoff matches in the past. Sorry to remind you of well, I guess what was a bit of a career disappointment, but would you go along with what Kevin said then? You know, it's to actually get into those playoffs with some good performances behind you in the final matches. How important is that?
I think it's massive, John. Like Gage said, I think if you look at the history of teams that get promoted through the playoffs, I think they always have a bit of momentum behind them. So it's important that you do get a couple of wins and you do go into those playoffs with real confidence behind you, especially if we can get anybody at Bramall Lane here in front of a full house and, you know, with momentum, with winning games, getting the crowd behind us. I'm really confident that with the squad that we've got, we will go on, obviously, and hopefully get a day out at Wembley. But it is important to gain that momentum. And like he says, Ecky's bold enough and brash enough to make his own decisions. And I think maybe he would have made that decision regardless of whether Ollie was injured or not tonight, because Ecky's quite confident in what he does. And as we've seen since he's been in the job, he's done really good.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see a different style of Sheffield United performance maybe this afternoon as a result of the one we've all been talking about, and which we of course have to look at, and that's Sheffield United's defeat on Good Friday against Reading here at Bramall Lane. And let's take a look again at the highlights of that match.
We're underway once again in the Sky Bet Championship. It's opened up for him here, balled up. A shot from distance is over from Norwood. Josh Lauren. Decent looking ball here. Stevens not going to get there. It's smashed into the net. What a finish. Lucas Zhao. First shot in anger, and he's rifled the ball beyond Fodringham. Forced to Ince. Saved by Fodringham. Zhao's into the penalty area for Reading. Brilliant play by Zhao, and he hits the outside of the post. Here come United now. Baldock. George Baldock. Stevens keeps it in. Osborne makes the break. Osborne's cross right across the 6-yard area. Baldock opted to cross. There is the half-time whistle. Ince with a free kick. Dangerous cross. That was half a chance. Osborne again. And goes across. Jefferson brings Norwood into play. Norwood's cross. There's a chance, and Egan heads it straight at Nyland. Jefferson flicks on. Egan's still up there. Egan. Chance here for Njai! Lift off at Bramall Lane. Illiman and Jay off the bench and back in the goals. How crucial could that goal be? Here come Reading again, and it's a goal for McIntyre. United switch off from the restart, and it goes, chance, and Davies puts it over. Norwood's delivery. Surely that's it now. The referee blows for full time.
Well, that's what the highlights were, if highlights is the right word, for that match on Good Friday. I think all of us had expected a win, which didn't happen in the end. And I guess the obvious question for both of you, Kevin first, where did it go wrong?
I think we picked the wrong team to begin with, to be honest. I said before the game I didn't see the point of playing Osborne, Hurahan and Norwood, all very similar players. You know, I think Osborne had a little bit more freedom to get forward, but he's not a forward attacking midfielder. He's trying to play a number 10 role. Didn't really work, and I think we missed the drive of Sander Berg so badly. You know, we're so used to seeing him getting forward on that right hand side. Just didn't happen for us. And then our three centre halves, you know, they looked a little bit shaky. Zhao was running them ragged at times. I don't think we ever recovered from that first goal. Should have been 2-0 actually. He missed a great opportunity to make it 2-0. And there should be a lack of confidence on the ball, especially in the first half. We weren't playing the ball quickly enough out from the back. It was just a very lethargic performance all round. We did improve second half, but we didn't really create enough good chances, you know, to get back into the game.
Lack of confidence, Derek. Is that just the fatigue of having so many matches coming relatively quickly?
Yeah, definitely. You're going from one game to another, and obviously mentally as well, it can be a bit tiring. But I think there's no excuses from the game today. I think collectively, individually, and as a team, we didn't perform. I don't think we started the game well enough. I think Reading, to be fair to them, came out and started the game really well. They gained momentum. We then were trying to grab a way back into the game, which obviously it took a while. Like Gage says, second half always going into the cup to get going. But I think by then, we didn't really get that momentum going to Gate, and we got a big crowd, high expectations, a big football club, lots of pressure, which is a privilege at a club like this, but we never really got going. And I think the major disappointment is that certain players never really turned up on the day. And
defensively, you know, that's been Sheffield United's strong suit, and yet you say that, in your opinion, defensively we were exposed.
Yeah, but very much so. Yeah, they were cutting through us in the first half a couple of times with just simple through balls. You know, we weren't picking up our runners, and then the second half. Although we did improve in the second half, and the way we let the goal in, the winning goal, it was very, very disappointing. It was just like basic defensive errors. You know, letting men run off the ball. You know, not winning the first header, etc. So it's just the way it all happened. If Reading had come here and played us off the park, you know, you can accept that. And then Reading weren't as bad as people thought, by the way. They were on quite a good run. So, you know, I thought they were a decent side. But just the way we got back in the game was great. But then to lose the goal literally a minute afterwards, so disappointing. And when I say body blow earlier, that's what I mean. It was a real, you know, hit to the solar plexus, really.
Well, that's how you were reading it, and you know, fairly candid assessment from both Kevin and Derek there. But I guess the man who really had to take it on the chin, who faced us after the match, was the manager, Paul Heckingbottom.
We were slow with the ball first half. We know what to expect from Reading. We know with the previous results how they'd set up, and they were very good at it. So we knew exactly what the game had looked like. Our outside centre-backs didn't step in enough the first half, so we continue then come back and you allow them to press. So we needed to change, we needed to make a change to shape and personnel, which we did, and then second half much better, but huffed and puffed, and again struggled to break down their 10 behind the ball. But the pleasing thing was we kept playing, kept going, and we had to make more changes again to keep pushing. So the players responded well. However, you get a goal like that then, and I think, say what we want, a naivety. The big lesson for me is whether it's a naivety, the emotions, you've still got a team on the pitch who's trying to hurt you, and it's almost as if we didn't respect that, and it was all, well, we'll just kick the ball to the pitch again and try and attack. So yeah, that's a disappointing thing. We've lost a point which might prove valuable.
Because after, you know, it hadn't necessarily been going your way today, you got the goal right at the end. I mean, is that the real frustration that they've scored so quickly? And,
yeah,
you know, there's a number of experienced defenders that could take control of that.
While we made changes, and I know we have got inexperienced players on the pitch, we've certainly got enough experience to deal with that. Yeah, and that's the big takeaway message for me, for the players. We've turned it into a sprint now, 4 games, turned it into a sprint. You look at the results again, lots of points dropped, brought even more teams back into it. So we've turned it into a sprint for 4 games, and they're going to get tastier than that, they're going to get tighter than that, because everyone's scrapping for something.
Yep, we're ready for a sprint starting today, and it's probably a good time to look at the record of Paul Heckingbottom and compare it with his predecessor, Slaviša Jokanovic, and you see similar number of games played there, but a huge improvement in United's fortunes under Paul.
Yeah, that's a really interesting graph, isn't it, or set of stats, I should say. It's remarkable, to be honest. I mean, we're sitting here moaning about losing to Reading, and we're still 6th in the table. I mean, everything's a bonus, really, when you consider where we were back in November or whenever the change was made. So we have to count the lucky stars that the change was made. And it's remarkable, to be honest.
That clean sheet stat really jumps out at you, doesn't it? 6 prior to Paul and 13 since.
Yeah, well, he made the change, didn't he? I mean, the key thing with Jokanovic, he was trying to change the way we were playing by playing with the 2 centre-halves, and of course as soon as Hecky came in, he changed it to our more normal 3 centre-half system with the wing-backs that we've been playing so successfully for the past 4 or 5 years, and it suited everybody in the club. We all knew the roles and knew what they were doing, so I think that was a major change. So yeah, I mean, full credit to not only Hecky, but of course, but for the players for buying into what he's been saying. Derek's very close to it all. I'm sure they've been saying the right things behind the scenes to get the boys G'd up, but they've really responded very, very well.
Derek, you give us your perspective of that improvement and how the players have responded to some extent a change of direction.
Yeah, I think the stats say it all there. I think the previous manager, there's too much of a shift in my opinion, obviously coming from Chris. He wanted to go in a different direction probably too soon. I think the players weren't used to it. And obviously once he left and Ecky's gone in, the biggest thing for me is Ecky, obviously Jack Lester and Stuart McCall, the blend they have, not just knitting the players together. And obviously as you see the clean sheets there, Ecky walking from the back as an ex-defender himself, taking real pride in clean sheets, but just bringing everybody together again, knitting the team together and the camaraderie around the place, not just with the first team but in the academy. The spirits are high and I think that really spilled out into the pitch and the results, on top of Ecky obviously being a top coach. Yeah,
that's a very good point that was made there. I think the key appointments behind the scenes as well. It's not just Hecky, is it? It's Stuart McCall and Jack Lester. Well, not Jack Lester was already here, of course, but Stuart McCall coming in, absolute masterstroke. You know, we love him. He loves the club. He's been here before. He's a great player for us. He's been a manager. So much experience, and he livens things up behind the scenes. So it's not just Hecky having team talks. It's the whole thing.
Well, today's game, Bristol City. What sort of a challenge would you expect to come from them, Derek? Because consistency has not been their thing.
No, I think they've only won 2 of the last 7 or 8 games. I think they've had a couple of good results, but I think they're similar shape to what we play. I personally think tonight they'll show us a lot of respect. I think it'll be a similar game to Reading where they'll try and catch us on the counter-attack. They'll probably look to the game against Reading and see how Reading exploited us on Friday and probably allude and play that sort of similar game. But I think we're going to have to be patient tonight. Away from home we probably will get a bit more time to be a bit more patient without obviously being forced to go forward quite a lot. But I think they'll look to frustrate us and obviously then capitalise on that with counter-attacks and quick play. They've got a couple of good players in there. There's a young boy who played against our academy teams quite a lot, Alex Scott. He's a real potential. He's only 18, 19 years of age, so he's a good player which we've got to keep an eye on. Nigel Pearson's been under pressure to reduce the wage bill, so some of the big earners have gone, and really he's having to try and put things together on a bit of a shoestring.
Yeah, they're in transition, aren't they? As you say, trying to blood a few young players. I mean, it's not dissimilar to what we might be faced with, in the next season and the season after, with the way the club has come out and made their statements earlier in the season when they made the change and gave Hecky the job. We've got similar situations, similar scenarios with lots of our players at the end of their contract, and we've got a superb under 23s, under 18s. We've got a lot of good young players coming through who will be looking to get into the squad next season. So yeah, there's parallels there. Having said all that, I still think we've got enough experience and quality in that starting 11 to take the game to Bristol City and to run out comfortable winners, to be honest. Going back to Bristol City, they seemingly, Derek, rely an awful lot on Andreas Weimann, former Villa and Derby player. He's their principal goal threat. Yeah, he's the main point of their attack, really. They really walk towards him and everything's built around him and the structure in which they play. So it's important that obviously them clean sheets, now we've defended all since Ecky's come in, it's important that we do defend well. And like Nigel obviously is got his connection with Sheffield Wednesday, so he will want to have a say on this and will want to get one over on us. And like anytime I see him, he doesn't have a lot of good things to say to me when I see him that I can't really say on there. But he's a good guy. He's a serious guy, but he's a good guy. What about you both have been there as players. What about Ashton Gate as a place to visit as a visiting team? Yeah, they're quite passionate, the fans, to be honest. They get behind the team. I just saw a little clip of Carl Asabi, guest on here sometimes. He's down doing the radio, and I've done the radio at Bristol City, and the crowd are literally about two rows of seats in front of you. And I remember getting up and celebrating and shouting when we scored, and they turned round, and I was quite worried. And one of the stewards had to come in and intervene at one stage. So yeah, they're a passionate set of fans, but we've got a few going down, so I'm sure we can quieten them. Can it be an intimidating place? Yeah, it is. It really is. Like they're proper on top of you, like Gage said, and like Bristol's one of those places that it's a massive football city. Obviously, they got Bristol Rovers there in Bristol City, big support base, good, passionate about the football. Yeah, it is quite intimidating. I played there a few times, and it's not an easy place to go getting a result. And by all means, it won't be an easy game for us tonight. But like Gage said, you have to be confident, especially at this stage of the season.
Well, we hope that they get it right and that they come to terms with that passionate support that they're going to be facing, and indeed perhaps try and replicate what was produced here at Bramall Lane earlier in the season. Let's take a look back to the last match. It was Paul Heckingbottom's first game in charge, actually. Bristol City here at Bramall Lane, and here's how it panned out.
Put the roast beef back in the oven. We've got Sheffield United against Bristol City. The Paul Heckingbottom era starts here. Oliver Norwood into Gibbs White, looks to spin his man. Still with Gibbs White, drives into the penalty area. Gibbs White with the cross. How close was Brewster there? Here's Bogle now in a great position. Bogle cuts it back. And then Brewster from a tight angle. Couple in the box for David McGoldrick. Holds the ball up, has support from Enda Stevens. Here is Stevens with the cross. And the header just wide from Bogle. Other players arriving late into the penalty area. That was a fine save from Foderingham. Into McGoldrick. Just trying to slide in Stevens. Falls for Hourahan. Stevens has stayed forward. Stevens into Brewster! Sheffield United take the lead, and Rhian Brewster gets the Paul Heckingbottom era underway. Fabulous move again from the Blades. It's Brewster's third goal of the season in all competitions, and United lead with 5 minutes to go to half-time. United straight onto the front foot at the start of the second half. Gibbs White on the outside of Atkinson. Gibbs White with a cross, and Brewster it was who went for the ball. Shot for Norwood, lovely play. Gibbs White, saved by Bentley. Billy Sharp ticks over the bar. Norwood round the corner for McGoldrick. McGoldrick's cross, what a goal that is! And it's Billy Sharp! Classic Sheffield United. Billy Sharp with a finish. His 6th goal of the season. And surely Sheffield United are heading for victory. Bit of work still to do, but they lead by 2-0.
Let me remind you of broadcasting regulations for today's match, and indeed for all the matches that we show, and you can get those details by going to sufc.co.uk, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to know. Now, when we watch those highlights of the match, which United won, goals from Rhian Brewster and Billy Sharp, apart from the fact that it was snowing, which it seems like another world, doesn't it, as how it is today. But how much can you actually take from an early season victory like that? Does that have any bearing on today's game?
No, in a word.
Thanks.
It makes no difference whatsoever. You know, it's probably a totally changed team for both teams. I think individual players will think about what happens is you think about who your opponent was and you remember, you know, what he did or what foot he was, etc. Whether he was quick, whether he was tricky. So you've got that in the back of your mind. But I don't think, you know, the tactics that we used on that day has any bearing on, you know, the game coming up. It's a totally different game of football, two totally different teams.
And of course, Derek, no Brewster, no Sharp.
Yeah.
Totally different structure, layout of the United team.
Yeah, I'm with Gage in this. I think it was Ecky's first game on this, so we were languishing down the lower part of the league. Today we're vying for playoffs, and I think the main difference that would be in that if we got a team in the playoffs and we beat them twice within the season, you might have a bit of momentum going into that game. But I think I'm with you. I think they're probably seeing the season now. We've got it all to play for, so no Billy, no Brewster, no Ollie McBurney, different team, probably different tactics. So yeah, it's all to play for, and it's a clean slate.
Keep saying that, don't we? It's all to play for. Yeah. The fact that this, and I think it is a fact, that this is a bigger game for Sheffield United than it is for Bristol City. Is that a key factor?
Normally I'd say yes. You'd think that Sheffield United would have the motivation, the determination. It means more to us. But we talked about this the other week before a game, and sometimes when you go and play these teams who have absolutely nothing to play for, they can't get relegated, they can't get in the promotion hunts, you know, no chance, even if they win their last 4 games. They just play with a little bit more freedom and abandonment. You know, the players that come in we've already mentioned a couple of Bristol City young players. They just come in without any pressure on them. They just want to play. And sometimes you play them with that freedom. It's difficult to play against. Suddenly it just might click. So we've said it before all through the season, there's no easy games in this division. You can make a case, as I say, that you don't want to be going to Bournemouth or to Fulham or Notts Forest, and they are tricky games. But sometimes, as it's proved when Reading came here and when we went down to Stoke, these teams who have nothing to play for, they're tricky games.
Just under half an hour to kick off now, and I think it's probably as good a time as any to have a look at one of our classic Blades matches. This time from back in 2008. Sheffield United versus Bristol City. It wound up being a 3-0 win. Let's take a look.
A much better afternoon for Sheffield's other team. United too strong for Bristol City at Bramall Lane, where James Beattie opened the scoring just before half-time with a thumping shot. City were never able to come to terms with Sheffield United's prowess from set pieces, and it was a free kick which led to the second goal. An own goal, in fact, from defender Liam Fontaine, although Matthew Kilgallen was also close at hand. And the third home goal, another from Beattie, this time with his head. It completed a third successive league win for Sheffield United.
Good to see some of those highlights from a terrific day for Sheffield United. Was it really 14 years ago? Certainly is. Now, we've got matches coming up for you, starting on Saturday, next Saturday, the 23rd of April, when we are in action against Cardiff City. A match you can follow on SUTV Live, and we'll be on air for that one from 2 o'clock, so be sure not to miss that. And coming up after that, it's the away trip and another real key match. Sheffield United away to Queen's Park Rangers. That's an evening match. We're on air from 7 o'clock for a 7:45 kickoff, so be sure not to miss those matches on SUTV Live. Time now is just coming up to 4 minutes past 5, and we'll look now again at the teams for this afternoon, this evening's match. Kick-off at 5:30. And first of all, let's run through the Bristol City lineup. What's your thoughts on that, Kevin?
Well, none of the names really jump out. The only one that obviously does is Wyman, as we've already spoke about. You know, he is their key man by a long, long way. Whether he plays up front, whether he plays in midfield or a floating number 10, he's just a very top quality player. Played for the likes of Villa, he's played for Derby. I think he's got shed loads of goals this season for Bristol City. So he's their danger man without a shadow of a doubt. And Chris Martin, traditional centre forward, traditional number 9, wins balls in the air, you know, in and around the penalty area, will be looking for half chances. They're nothing special, as we already said. No. They're in transition, got a few young players, but you know they're going to be difficult opposition.
One change there, Han Noah Masengo coming into the lineup. That's the one change from the victory against Stoke City, and that performance at Stoke, you know, I mean, talk about difficult places to go. Stoke's never an easy place to visit. The fact that they got a win there shows that they are a team to be respected. Yeah,
100%. Stoke's never an easy place to go. It's either windy, rainy or cold, even in a summer's night there. So it's a tough place to go. They're very physical, and to go there and to get a 1-0 victory, to keep a clean sheet at Stoke as well, is by no means free. So they're buoyant. I think they drew the game before that. So as I said before, 4 points out of 6. So, and like Gage says, what mindset they go into the game, they might go in a bit of freedom. Got a couple of young lads in there. As I said, the boy Alex Scott's a good player, but it's not going to be an easy game. But pound for pound, I'd take any of our players over theirs.
You might not have been here earlier on when we were having a look at the Sheffield United lineup. Here it is, and changes aplenty there from that Reading game, Kevin.
Yes, important changes and the right changes in my opinion. I mean, great to see Chris Basham back. He's so influential to the way we play and so effective. No worries about his fitness whatsoever, because Chris Basham is probably the fittest player in the Sheffield United squad. Doesn't matter if he's sat on the sidelines for a month, he can come straight back in and just keep charging down that wing. So great to see him back. But I personally think that's probably the strongest side, you know, we could pick, short of having Billy Sharp back for Njai. That is our strongest 11. I'm pleased to see Robinson back as well. I was disappointed when Hecky left him out. I understand the reasons maybe he went with Davis, but I just think Robinson's a better defender, and I think he's probably been our most improved player this season as well, from where he was at the start of the season. And I think he's very, very effective in our defensive unit. So pleased to see him back in. And as Derek's just said, you know, we have got some absolutely top quality players in that team. So as long as we put the effort in, which I'm sure they will, and as long as the commitment there and the enthusiasm, our quality should tell this afternoon.
And youngsters coming through who you know very, very well, and it must give you personally a sense of pride when you see them coming through and making it through to the first team.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like seeing obviously Illiman coming through. We got Reece Norrington Davis, which I had a good relationship with as a fullback, which he was, and obviously then you got Willis Sula coming in now. He had a rough time with injuries, he's up and down, but his talent, he's similar to Illiman, real talented, strong boy, good player.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about Will. He's there on the subs bench today.
Yeah.
What's he about for those who've not seen it?
He's big, he's strong, he's quick, he's skillful. So I'm saying like he's got a lot here, he's probably Mbappe, but no, he is, he's got real potential. The only thing with Will is that he's still a young boy and he struggled with injuries. It's about him finding that consistency. So his talent is undisputed. It's about him obviously seeing now the professional side of what it takes to be in a footballer, living his life right, eating right, sleeping well, training well, and dedicating his whole life to football, which he will, because he's such a great kid, like Illiman, like Reece, like Jebbo, like all the other boys coming through. Like we've got countless kids coming through, but like Eki said earlier on the season, we've got to be patient with them. They are still young boys, but it's as good a talent I've seen at any academy in my time playing and coaching. Yeah.
As good as that?
Yeah, but as long as we're patient and we give them the right development, I feel we've got top players here.
When you are putting together a young team, you know, you look after the under-18s and you're building people potentially to be coming through. What's the most important thing? Is it about what you were talking about there, about instilling all the right values and the right approach to achieve and to perform and hopefully make it as a full-time professional? Yeah,
talent is just one part of being a professional. Being a professional is living your life right, dedicating yourself. Like I said, all the above, sleeping right, coming in every day and willing, the attitude that you come in with, and wanting to get better, practicing, doing extras and everything. And then the last little bit for me is once you go from 18s to 23s, is that mentality. If you're playing against Reading on a Saturday and you're losing, or last Friday and you're 60th minute and you're 1-0 down and the crowd are getting a bit edgy, that's where I admire Ollie Norwood and Morgan Gibbs-White. I said it to him at the end of the game today. We didn't play well, but if you look at Gibbs-White, the reason why he'll go on to have the career he has, he still wanted the ball. Even when he lost and the crowd are edgy, not Ollie Norwood, he'll get hammered, but he'll still take the ball. And that's what big, strong mentalities, they play in big games and big clubs like this with high expectations. And like I said to them, the more pressure you have, the more privilege it is to have that pressure.
If I throw you back a few years to when, not very many years obviously, Kev, but when you were about 18, I mean, who were the people who really had a big impact on you at that stage? Who were your role models?
Dear oh dear. It's a bit awkward for me because I grew up with a crazy gang at Wimbledon. It was a world away from the professionalism of Derek Geary's under 23s and the way they do things these days. It was literally a different world. I must be truthfully honest. I think we were very, very lucky when I was coming through the youth sides and getting in the team early. There wasn't under 23s. There wasn't under 18. Well, there wasn't under 18, but it's just called the youth team. So you went straight from the youth team, had a few games in the reserves, and then you were in the first team squad, and it was sink or swim. So you just kind of learned the hard way how to deal with professional football. And you had your rough moments, you had your downs.
I can imagine there's some rough moments.
Yeah, literally. But you just get on with it and get on, and just adapt to it and just do the best you can. It's literally sink or swim. Luckily for me and a few of my age group and Wimbledon as a whole, we managed to swim and did it very, very successfully.
What about for you, Derek? When you were of that age, people who actually had a big impact on you.
Probably the biggest influence on me was at Sheffield Wednesday was Chris Waddle. He was the reserve team manager there. For someone of that stature to have that much belief in me, and I remember he was saying to Danny Wilson at the time, "You need to play him. He's doing really well." And my confidence just went from that to that. Somebody of what he's played in European Cup finals, World Cup semi-finals. Obviously, he's an unbelievable player. For him to put that much faith in me is something that I was always grateful for, and he's probably one coach that I've always looked back to and thought, he's the reason why my confidence, and I finally believed that I can go on to do as well as I could. So yeah, I've got a massive time for Chris, and obviously massive praise from him as a person.
Yeah, when you had Chris Waddle, I had Alan Cork.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Chalk and cheese, to be honest.
I know as a Sheffield United fan, you know, I mean, you always look at your own team and think how wonderful they are, and everybody remembers, of a certain age, remembers Tony Curry and going back in time, the great names over the years. But one player, you know, hearing his name when you talk, yeah. I always just admired Chris Waddle so much. He was people have not seen him. He was a genius, wasn't he? On his game, on his day, he was a genius.
He was our coach. He was about 40 at the time, and he joined in training and he'd be the best player. That's how good he was. He was so good. It was ridiculous. He used to get frustrated when we couldn't do anything that he could do. He found so easy. He'd say, "Why can't you just do this?" And we were like, "Well, I'm not Chris Waddle. You know, I'm not as good as what you was." But yeah, he was so good. He was a talent, and it was a pleasure, obviously, to have him coaching me at the time.
Am I right in thinking your last match for Sheffield United was against Bristol City?
No, I think I was sub at Ipswich away. I was sub in that game that you just showed there. That's when Kyle Walker decided my career at Sheffield United was going to dwindle down at that stage. So he was playing ahead of me then. So yeah, if it was Norwich away, I'm not sure when my last actual start was.
If you're going to lose out to anybody, losing your place to Kyle he's not the worst player to have done it, is he?
Yeah, another top player, young kid at the time.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a graphic showing your stats. 247 games, only the one goal. Talk us through that one.
I think we shot it the last time. It was a Millwall away one. I think it's a bit of a famous video. Obviously, the Warnock documentary and all that. We had a bit of a fight at half time. I think Paddy got sent off from Muscat. And I don't know how. I just decided if the game was that crazy, me having a shot from outside the box was probably going to go in the net. So I tried, and it did.
Well, that was then, and this is now. And of course, you're clearly loving your role with the under-18s with Sheffield United, and the record this season, extraordinary.
Yeah, I think we're one game away from winning the league. I think 20 games we've been undefeated the whole time. But it's great having winning teams. It's great winning the leagues now. But the most important thing is that we help develop young players, obviously, to go on and have the career and hopefully go on to do as well as they can. And ultimately, if they don't have a career, give them the experience where they look back on fondly. So yeah, that's it in the U Cup. I think that was that's City Peck scoring against Millwall. He's a boy who's got real potential as well.
Unbeaten this season, that's some record. And what about this one? This was Will Lancashire's hat-trick, wasn't it, on the 16th of April?
Yeah, this is just on Saturday at Crewe away. Yeah, Will Lancashire's a boy. He scored I think he scored 3 hat-tricks in the last 6 games. He's 16 years of age, another boy that's got absolutely massive potential. Just an absolute goal-scoring machine. He's a big boy, he's physical, good hold-up play, and he just scores for fun. So hopefully he can keep carrying that form and that talent up the levels.
Is it his physique which is really the big thing on his side at this level? Is it because he is such a big lad?
Yeah, he is a big lad, but there's more to him than that. Obviously, as you can see here, he's a great finisher. He's got good hold-up play. He's technically really good. But like I alluded towards, when you get closer, Gage knows just as much as I do, the mentality side of things. He wants it. Would he go out and relish Bramall Lane in front of 30,000 people? 100%. And ultimately, every kid will say he can do it, but it's not that easy when you're out there.
You like what you're seeing here, Kevin?
Yeah, he's a natural goal scorer, isn't he? So the beauty about the way they're brought up at this club is, as Derek's alluded to, you know, they try and get them to do the right things. You know, it is all about doing the right things off the pitch as well as on the pitch. So they get a really good grounding. And yeah, of course, it thrills me with a little bit of... I'm excited to see the young players come through, because I experienced that, you know, when I came through at Wimbledon, we all came through together. We had a really good young set of players over many, many years, and I think I can see the same thing happening here.
When did you first realise that you had a real sort of aptitude for dealing with the young players like this? When did you realise? Because clearly it's something which you've settled into, and you've made the role something very special.
Yeah, probably when I finished playing, to be honest. I didn't really go into I didn't really get my badges around, but once I finished playing early, obviously with my knee. I just wanted to go in and start coaching lower down and see if I got a feel for it, and I did. I done under 12s, Oliver Albaster's group, and just came through there. And obviously it's great to see the kids that I coached under 12s now sub for the first team. The satisfaction of that and making the debuts, like you alluded earlier on,
yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world, just to see them to go on and for Phil, hopefully to go on to have a better career than I've ever had. So that's the satisfaction behind it.
It's wonderful to hear that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great.
It's great to hear. You know, I want to see them go and have a better career than I had.
They're like your kids, aren't they? You're really, really proud of them. Yeah, you see them
good.
from a young age and they're coming through.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's great to reflect on it, and lovely to see that the kids are doing so. I call them kids, they're not kids, are they? They're young fellas. But to see that they're doing so well, and let's hope it continues. Because for Sheffield United as a club, it's so important. You know, sort of breeding your own talent, nurturing your own talent, and that's what you're so much a part of.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's obviously Harry Maguire, Kyle Walker, David Brooks, and even lads that don't play in our first team. Regan Slater's playing a Hull, Tyler Smith's playing a Hull. So we've got a real abundance of talent here, and hopefully I can help carry that on in the future.
Lovely. Well, it's time now for an SUTV live exclusive with David McGoldrick on the recovery trail, and he updated us on his situation with our very own Matt Young.
Obviously, I've been in the gym for a bit now. Since the operation, I'm like 8 weeks now. I'm seeing a specialist very soon to find out how I'm getting on and if I can ramp up even more. You know, it's tough in the gym, but like I've heard Rian and that say before, it's good to have people around you while you're in the gym.
I understand, you know, getting back into the gym is almost like the first step, but getting back in the grass, I would think that's the real goal, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, especially when you've had an operation. You know, you're on crutches I was on them for 3 weeks. And you can't do anything, you know. You have to watch everything you eat, put in your body, you know, you can't drive, you can't come in, so you're away. And then once you get in the gym, you know, that's the first step. Then obviously the big step is getting out on the grass, you know, you can see light at the end of the tunnel, which ain't far away.
You mentioned obviously the disadvantages of being injured. How do you cope with mentally going through that kind of spell?
Well, I've been injured before, a lot of my days at Ipswich. I think you've got to go straight into a mentality of committing to it. You've got to accept it straight away. And you know, you've got to go in there and you've got to make every day count. You know, you can't just go in there and go through the motions. If it's on the bike, if it's doing the leg exercises, you know, if you take off 5% each day when you're doing leg work, you know, that's going to add up by the time. And if my thigh's not ready by that time, then that might not be good for me. So I put 100% in every day. I go into it with a mentality of coming out stronger every day, and I think that's the best thing to do.
You wouldn't wish long-term injury on anyone, but having Jaden and Rian around you, has that helped?
Yeah, it's made me realise how old I am. You know, them two little firecrackers, you know, dumb and dumber at times, but they're good guys, you know, they're working hard, they've got the right mentality, and I think they feel that they can't, you know, take the foot off the gas, otherwise I'll be on them. As Rian said, like, I'm a father figure, but that's because I like them, and you know, I think they're great players, and I think it's only a tiny little setback for them. You know, they'll come back stronger when they get back fit. So yeah, it's been good, and obviously we've had Bashin as well. I got Jack O'Connell in there, and we've had the skipping for as well. You know, it's been a crowded physio.
You've obviously seen the blades in the meantime, so what do you make of the progress over recent weeks?
Good, you know, that's what we should have been like at the start of the season. I'm fully confident with the boys. You know, I think the way we play, you know, the clean sheet speak for itself. That's the most important thing, you know, you're not conceding goals. If you get 20 clean sheets in a season or something, you nearly guarantee promotion, and we're not far away from that. Wes has been brilliant, and I think our play has been great. To say the injuries we've had as well, I don't think many teams would have coped. People that have come in have been brilliant, and the people that have been playing every week that, you know, don't even get taken out of the team, that to do it week in, week out is tough, and they've been brilliant, and I'm really confident of what's going to come.
We said this to Rian when we interviewed him a few weeks ago, but are you a good watcher? Can you watch the games?
No, I'm not a good watcher. I don't like watching. It's not anything to do with. I support the team, but I don't like watching the games, because I feel that's when I feel like I get down. I feel like once I step back into that arena, that I'm part of it, then that's when I'm at my best. I feel watching it's hard work. That's when you really miss it and you really get down on yourself. So I try to take a step back and watch from afar, but I'm still there 100%.
And finally, what do you make of the championship running? It just seems to be as tight as ever, doesn't it?
Tight as ever. It's always the championship, you know, you get nothing like it. You know, we've got some games at home, you know, must wins, and we've got to go away and get some points or something on the board. But they're all winnable. All games in the Championship are winnable, especially with the squad that we've got, attacking players all over. You know, there's goals, and you know, once we get them wins under the belt, I think we'll be in the playoffs. And I think, you know, no team will want to play us from now to the end of the season, even if it isn't in the playoffs.
Good to hear from David, trying to get back to fitness. And before we usher you off to your commentary duties, Kevin, there is a very obvious question. When you look at David McGoldrick there, do you feel just a tiny bit of beard envy?
Yeah, he's grown his beard, hasn't he, when he's not been playing. That would have weighed him down, wouldn't it, had he been fit? Yeah, I've given up on the beard, as you can see, months and months ago.
Final prediction before you disappear.
I'm always optimistic, and I was a little bit apprehensive coming in, but having seen the team, that fills me with belief, because I think defensively we're going to be strong with Basham and Robinson coming back. The midfield is superb, you know, with Berger and Fleck coming back, and I like Njai as a player, and I think we'll create things. So I think a clean sheet and a 1-2-0 win.
Let's hope so. Don't let us down. We look forward to hearing that, and let's also hear again from the manager with just a few minutes to go now to kick off. And these are the thoughts of Paul Heckingbottom, who knows very much that he needs a quick response from his players after Friday.
Yeah, like I say, it's going to be interesting now. 4 games. It's a sprint. We need points, pick up points. There'll be more dropped, and I just said to the players there, we have to make sure it's not us. We have to make sure that's our blip, if you like, in the running. Because I'm looking at the fixtures again today. You just got to hold your nerve. You got to believe, hold your nerve, be positive, keep playing. And again, I would have used that message today because that's what we did in the game. However, like I've just been speaking about, the big lesson is how we didn't see it out. So we need both those things. We need the belief, we need the composure and the willingness to keep going, because no one's going to make it easy for us. And we will do that, no problem. But at the same time then, we need the cool heads and the experience to make good decisions at the right time and help us get over the line.
Iliman Njai came on against Reading, got his goal. Now with the injuries to most of your forwards, how big a role is both he and Daniel Jefferson going to have? Well,
they're the only ones at the minute. Listen, we know how we want to play. We've just been unable to do it most of the year, but we'll find another way. That's the challenge. I say we've had throughout this run, we've had people playing out position because they've had to. We've had to chop and change. We've had people playing ill or injured. So I'm expecting people to step up because 4 games left. That's it. And unless I will continue to be positive in that respect, it's no point of sulking about what we've got out. We'll just prepare as well as we can to take on Bristol.
Not one away for a few. How are you feeling about that now? Is that going to affect how you approach the Bristol City game?
It's irrelevant. Like I said, it's a different stage of the season. We want to go and win. We've got to be positive. And that's a mindset. What we've got to lose.
Well, there's Ashton Gate. You can see it's starting to fill up for the match, which is only a few minutes away now. And those are the broadcasting regulations, which I would ask you to remind yourself of. Match pass information as well. If you go to SUTV, sufc.co.uk, all those details are there and it keeps you right up to date. So we are now literally 5 minutes away. I'm here in the studio at Bramall Lane with Derek Geary, and your final thoughts. I've asked Kevin what he reckons, and he reckons that there's going to be a win for Sheffield United this afternoon. It'll be good to see. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm with Gage. I'm pretty confident that I think, like Gecky said there is a lot of experience still in the team. There's no point in moping around saying we've got a few injured. We've got experience there. We've got a lot of youth, so the experience can help. And I think he made a good point there. It's time to step up. There's 4 games to go. There's no point in thinking what ifs now. It's time to go out and obviously put your words into action and get results, which I'm really confident that they'll get tonight.
Actually, I had a little word with George Baldock earlier on, and he was saying that, of course, we've all got our smartphones. We know exactly what's going on around the country. We've looked at the results elsewhere, and the results have actually shaken down pretty well for Sheffield United this afternoon, notably the defeat of Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I think that's a massive result for us. Especially earlier on in the day, I think it'll give the lads a lot more positive going into the game tonight. And I think the most important thing about the game tonight is you can get that win, which hopefully you do. It just sets everything up for Saturday here, which obviously you'll probably get a full house here, Cardiff for home, and they'll go in with real enthusiasm knowing that if they win that game, they give themselves the right chance. I'm
old enough to remember Cardiff coming back in the days of Tony Curry, Alan Woodward, etc., etc. They came up here and it was a big match. And you know what happened? We buried them 5-1, smashed them. And wouldn't it be lovely to see history repeated?
Of course, yeah. But like them two names you just mentioned there, Tony Curry, big players for the big occasions, and that's what these lads have got to do tonight. There's some big players in there, and it's a big occasion, so it's time to step up.
It is time to step up. It's time as well to see the game and to go across to Ashton Gate and see exactly what happens and enjoy the company of your big match day commentators, Kevin Gage, and first of all, it will be the voice of Matt Young.
It was a Good Friday turned bad for Sheffield United against Reading, but Paul Heckingbottom's side quickly have an opportunity to resurrect their playoff bid against Nigel Pearson's Bristol City. The Blades will need to quickly remedy some recent travel sickness if they are to return to winning ways, but face a Robin side with little to play for after they recently confirmed their championship status for next season. It's another huge game for the Blades, one of 4 remaining as the rollercoaster race for the playoffs continues at pace. Alongside me, Kevin Gage. We discussed the team at length. Kevin, you're really pleased with the lineup. Now the Blades have got to go out and the proof will be in the pudding, put themselves back on a winning platform and boost their playoff chances.
Yeah, and I think we've got the exact team